The opinions expressed on the Custody Queen Show are for informational purposes only and are not a substitute for personal, professional legal advice. The persons discussed are fictional and not based on actual clients.
Thought it was love, had kids in between. You can count on us, we're the Custody Queens. Yeah, you can count on us, we're the Custody Queens.
Happy Saturday, everyone. I'm Sam McBride. I'm here with Kristen Holstrom, and we are the Custody Queens. Today we have our divorce expert, Dayn Holstrom, with us, and we're going to break down a celebrity case.
A celebrity divorce case. But before we get there, I think we're going to do the TMI jar because this is my favorite part of the whole show. Because I love making Sam McBride get uncomfortable. And divorce Dayn, too.
Dayn's going to do one today. TMI stands for too much information. I'm going to do the honors because I keep putting Kristen in the hot seat. So if you can pass me a question, we'll get into it.
I liked when you guys did scissors, rock, paper.
But then I continued to beat Kristen every time.
No, but that's only because you got in my head and you tried to cheat.
It's gamesmanship, but we had to retire because I didn't want to keep winning. Okay, I wanted to be fair to everyone. Okay, where is the most embarrassing place that you have passed gas? Okay, so this is actually a great one. It takes me back about 15 years, and
don't lie, it was last week.
No, but this is the most embarrassing. It was about 15 years ago. I was going to get my driver's license, and I was so nervous. I show up, my dad's like shooing me away, and I'm just like a scared puppy. The driving instructor gets in my car and tells me to go, and everyone that has their driver's license likely knows how uncomfortable this was when you were a little kid. Well, I just really started farting, like a lot. And not only was it noisy, but it also smelled really bad. So you can imagine.
Hey, Sam, TMI.
Were you in the car taking your test?
I'm in the car taking my test with the driving instructor. The windows are up. There's no music on. And she's telling me where to go.
Yeah, because you got to be 10 and 2.
I don't know how I passed the exam, but I did. But I think that will live with me forever.
And if anyone wants to, like, really know Sam, she drives 10 miles below the speed limit in the slow lane.
Safety first.
Everywhere you go. I mean, I can't tell you how many times. I only let her drive me once, and we got about a quarter of a mile, and I had her pull over and switch with me because that's how bad of a driver she is.
Yeah, it's not my strong suit.
So I am guessing that the person passing you actually let you go simply because they wanted to get the heck out of the car.
It was a sympathy vote, yeah.
I do want to just think that I want to bring up how relevant your story is right now, just in light of the fact that everybody is doing Zoom, like hours and hours a day. How many listeners out there have forgot to put the microphone on mute at some point and had, an incident? You don't have to tell us right now, but I just want to throw it out there because everybody is doing Zoom all the time, and this is just kind of a relevant topic.
A shout out to YouTube. You can see everybody else.
All right, so I am going to pull from the jar right now. All right, what song do you most associate with your childhood? That is an easy one. It is Britney Spears' Oops, I Did It Again. And I would actually go, oops, I did it again. I know that I might be slightly tone deaf, but I was always kind of taking things like one step too far maybe, and definitely testing the parents a little bit. But, I learned and I turned out pretty good. But I was definitely the girl that, in Girl Scouts would definitely push the Girl Scout troop leader and definitely would always get the call to my parents to come pick me up. That's just, hey, it all worked out.
Oops.
Moving on.
All right, Dayn, it's your turn.
Were you named after anyone or thing? No.
So
was easy.
how did your parents come up with Dayn?
Actually, I can't get credit for it. I wasn't involved, but it was, our family is Scandinavian on both sides. My family, yours is a little more diverse, but we were both Swedish and Danish, and so the spelling of Dayn in Sweden is D-A-Y-N. It's a very unusual spelling, I've learned, and of course Holstrom is very Swedish, and so that's where it came from.
Where'd Kristen come from?
Her name?
Yeah.
I don't even think.
I'm thinking we're not going to get into that. You see, there's the birds and bees. Anyway, we're actually just putting names together. And I think we did the same thing first parents do all the time. And you get a book and you start running names together, or you run into somebody, oh my goodness, I love that name. And we loved Kristen Ashley, and Ashley was spelled different. It was like Old English Ashley, which is A-S-H-L-E-I-G-H. So that
Which
was
I
it.
actually gave my daughter the middle name, or actually her name is Riley, and I spelled it the same way that I spell my name, so R-Y-L-E-I-G-H. Dayn, what did you teach me to say when I was little?
Uh-oh. Blonde hair, blue eyes, and I'm bitchin'.
So my parents taught me to walk around and say that since the age of, what, 3, 4?
Yeah.
And
That
she
was-
still does it.
That was, yes. Well, no, that was right. And then one that followed was kick butt, rip it up, and have fun.
Which has actually followed suit into my kids. So before sports, it's always kick butt, rip it up, and have fun. Sam, was there any sayings that your parents taught you?
Not really. I was, though. My parents taught me nothing. No, I'm kidding. Shout out to my mom and dad. I love you very much. I was named, though, after Bewitched. So I was named after a TV sitcom. And yeah,
Can you do the nose thing?
I can't. And every time I say that, somebody says that.
And your middle name is Kate. Where didn't that come from somewhere too?
So Kate, actually, I thought my name was Katie for far too long, but it's Kate. My middle name is Kate. I asked my mom recently where it came from, and I think she just said that she wanted a one-syllable middle name. And then I cross-referenced that with my dad, and he said that he liked the way it flowed and that it sounded like an Irish girl. We're Irish, so.
Well, I think it's a beautiful name, Samantha Kate. All right, so before we get into the celebrity breakdown that Dana's going to do, I just wanted to ask my fellow co-host today just a quick question. Like, being an attorney is a super stressful job, and I just want to have each of us share with you what we do to de-stress. Sam, what do you do to de-stress?
I run would probably be the number one thing. I run off my feelings. I just keep running until I can't feel anything, and then I go home and I light a candle and just kind of relax, chill, maybe watch Boy Meets World. That's my favorite go-to. Mr. Feeney has the best lessons of all time. If you know, you know.
I do, I know.
How about you, Kristen?
And I want to add that we don't let Sam run very often because she generally breaks a bone probably once a year, resulting from a simple little run.
Yeah, I keep my Aflac going strong.
Yeah, one of the challenges of being an attorney and a mom, and also just kind of being true to yourself, is trying to find the balance. And one of my favorite things is traveling, which is very limited right now. We've been doing a bunch of staycations, but obviously our yearly trips have been put on pause. So I have really found a lot of calming moments with turning all the lights off, making sure that my husband has all 3 kids, trying to time it with nap time with at least 1 or 2 of the youngest ones, and grabbing my iPad, lighting a candle, and getting some serious like bath bombs, the stress reliever, Epsom salt, and literally watching Netflix in the bath by myself. So that way I just have 20 minutes to catch my breath.
Your me time.
And yeah, it's me time, and just forget about the rest of the world. And then by the time I get out, it's back to reality. So, Dayn, what is something that you do to de-stress?
My 2 favorite de-stress, depending on how much time I have to commit to it. If it's 20 minutes like you're talking about, I'll pick up a guitar and just play and do that. I have one in my office, and I have one at home. If I have more time to invest, then I go flying. I'm a pilot, and I love to fly. I think it's a cool thing to do, but it takes more than 20 minutes. So that's what I do.
And Dayn has actually flown some of our attorneys to various courthouses from our office, and that's a good story for another day. But I've actually flown with Dayn, and it's pretty amazing. And the amount of time you save is truly phenomenal. It really allows you to open your eyes up and travel so many new places. What's the first place you want to travel to when it's not a safety issue?
You know, I really actually want to go to Ireland. I haven't been to Ireland except for in a layover on my way to Germany one year, but it just is so beautiful and I want to get out. And I feel like being restricted from going anywhere is giving me that like travel bug, and I just want to take a couple of weeks off. This is my formal request to put in time off.
Denied.
Yeah. What about you?
My number one is definitely Greece. That is definitely on my to-do list. And my 40th birthday is coming up very, very soon. So trying to put together just a little quick trip for that.
Where to?
We're actually going to go to Cabo, and I am taking Samantha McBride with me. So, we'll have to give you a little preview from Cabo of Custody Queens.
On the road.
On the road in Cabo. I am really looking forward to restrictions being lifted and getting back to normal. So, Dayn, where do you and my mother want to go to?
God, anywhere. You're right. We're chomping at the bit. We've had plans that have been on our bucket list for years. We want to do Machu Picchu. We want to go to Croatia. So one of our to-do things. And we love going to Hawaii, but Hawaii right now doesn't love us. So we're not going to Hawaii anytime soon.
That's a bummer. We have an annual family trip where we take the entire family my parents take the entire family to Maui, and we spend Christmas in the week there, and it's just a wonderful family tradition. And my kids, gosh, they truly have the time of their life. There's water slides, and I don't know if it's good or bad, but I have my 3-year-old running around drinking virgin lava flows.
Smoothies.
Well, he thinks it is a smoothie at $11 a pop, right?
Right.
But I think we're all just looking forward to some normalcy. So today we are going to do the celebrity breakdown.
And we're going to talk about support. So we're going to pass it over to Dayn so he can kind of give us an intro on all things child support. This is a really important topic for us, as many of you are going through custody battles or just are sharing your children in general. The financial support that you are providing to your children and how that is calculated is very relevant, and so we thought it would be a great show.
And divorce cases. This is a universal issue across most family law cases.
Yes. Well, we're talking about specifically is child support, which should be separated from spousal support, or what some people call alimony. But the most common thing that happens when a court, as you guys know, of course, when a court is calculating child support, they base it on some main factors. The main factor is the income of each parent and how much time the child spends in each parent's home. There's a lot of details and nuances about taxable income and non-taxable income, but those are the core factors. And for most families, that's it. The court puts the numbers in a computer. The computer says child support is this. The reason the court came around to that right when I started being a lawyer like 30 years ago was because people would go into court and one judge for the same set of facts would have a wildly different child support number, and they realized this just isn't right. So they came up with what they called the guidelines. Well, the case I'm going to talk about is John Cryer's support case. And John Cryer's support case is that one in 100,000 cases where the court didn't apply the guidelines. They didn't look at his income and her income and the timeshare. And here's why. So John Cryer and his wife, I think her name was Trigger, was the last name. They had a small child, and Mr. Cryer had tried to go into court to change custody because the child was not thriving in mom's care. Well, the court denied it on an emergency basis, but less than a month later, the younger sibling of another father had an accident, and Child Protective Services came in and took custody of the kids and gave them to their respective fathers. So John Cryer went into court a few months later and said, "Time out, Your Honor. I'm paying $10,000 a month for child support, and I have this child 96% of the time. This ain't right. Therefore, I'd like you to apply the guidelines and reduce my support from $10,000 a month." And by the way, at this point, he's now making over $300,000 a month, okay? And reduce it down to less than $1,000 a month because she's only seeing him for 4% of the time. And I love this judge. I love this reasoning. I love the rationale. I've seen lots of people try to paint this ruling as some kind of a different thing than it is. And what it simply was a judge looking out for the best interest of the child. The law allows a judge to deviate from the guidelines when they think it doesn't make sense. And this judge said, you know what? we got a couple things going on. One, yes, Mr. Cryer, you're a good dad. Mom is going through a tough time, but we want mom to be there for your son. We want you both to be parents for this child forever. And the way that I'm going to facilitate that is I'm going to require you to do something you shouldn't have to do, which is to pay $10,000 a month that is not going to the immediate support of your kid. Why? Because when she starts visiting with that child, where's she going to take him? She's going to take him to her home. I'm guessing you don't want her visiting at a homeless shelter. Okay? She didn't say those are my words, but that's the gist of it. She thought she had the foresight to think about down the road. And just to show that no good deed goes unpunished, Mr. Cryer tried to appeal, and the Court of Appeal said, no, she got it right. The judge got it right. That's exactly what should have happened. So this child has 2 parents to go home to, period. 2 years later, the situation was normalized, of course. This is kind of the punchline on the story. And Ms. Trigger came back and said, I now have 50% custody of our child, and Mr. Cryer is now making $700,000 a month, so I think he needs to give me $90,000 a month in child support. To which the judge said, yeah, no. So that is one of my favorite cases on not only the issue of child support to illustrate how it works for everybody, but also how a good judge with a good opportunity seizes that opportunity to make good law for the state.
So, Dayn, in California, it's normally uniform and you use this calculator. And then there's certain situations that you deviate either upwards or downwards. Is that true?
It's sort of kind of true. You're not supposed to deviate most of the time, and most judges don't. One of the most common ones is what we call an extraordinarily high earner. That Mr. Cryer would qualify as an extraordinarily high earner, because if you apply the guideline, he would have to pay her $90,000 a month.
And so at some point the child's needs are met.
Not only the needs are met, but you got to look at needs. Needs are not just food and shelter. Needs are also having comparable lifestyles in each parent's home. And so it's not cool if little Johnny Cryer comes from his dad's house and he's got a chauffeur and everywhere, and a private basketball court and a movie theater and 6 servants helping him out, and then goes to mom's house where he's eating macaroni and cheese. Okay? That's not okay. So we want the child to want to be able to enjoy and be welcomed and feel good about both homes. And that's the primary purpose of child support for a high earner. But even with that, how much support is enough is the ultimate question, and that's where good judges think it through and decide if they should deviate from the guideline, like the judge in the Cryer case.
And this happens a lot more than you would think. It's not just celebrity cases. It happens, especially living here in Orange County, it happens a lot.
It does. You'd be surprised how high your income now has to be an extraordinarily high earner. Making $100,000 a month, no, you don't qualify, okay? $1 million a month, you're starting to get into the right league.
What if a parent is without a job but marketable? Does the court say that parent doesn't have an income? Are there certain circumstances where they may assign that parent an income?
It's ironic you point that out, because Ms. Trigger, the mother in the Cryer case, she hadn't had a job for several years. And from the record, it was apparent that she was making no effort to do so. And she referred to the child support she was receiving as her only source of income. The problem is, in that case, even if it's called imputation, even if we impute income, even if we artificially create an income for a person who's not working because they choose not to work, that is very different than when we're having a struggling economy like now, when somebody loses their job and may not be able to find one. You don't have to look far today to look at our economy. People that work in the service industry, hospitality industry, they're not working. Pretty soon, airplane pilots, flight attendants, all of those that are being laid off. That's different. No, the court takes the people, the parents, as they find them. They're dealing with a tough situation. But if it's protracted and people are demonstrating they're not looking for a job, they don't care, whatever the reason is, then the court can and will impute income and say, you know what, you're capable of getting a job, you're capable of making $3,500 or $4,000 a month based on your work history and your skill. I'm going to input for you that income, and we're going to calculate support as though you're receiving it. That parent then is put to a hard choice. Do they go out and actually get a job so they can actually make ends meet, or do they just thumb their nose and say, you know what, no, I'm not going to go get a job, I'll take the loss in support?
That's interesting. What happens if a parent just says, look, I'm quitting this job so that way I don't have to pay support to the other side?
I actually had this conversation with somebody last week. It's kind of funny. There's only one case, not counting retirement, when somebody reaches retirement age and stops working because of that, which is totally okay. In the case, there was one case where the courts in California, a guy said, you know what? I'm done with this rat race. I'm actually going to be a monk. Took a vow of poverty, went to live in a cave somewhere. I'm making up the cave thing. Anyway, and the court said, you know what? If you make a bona fide choice of your life to forgive, to actually not, to forsake income, in that situation, we're going to honor that. And we're not going to impute income. We're not going to artificially create a support obligation when you are living a life of poverty by choice.
Don't get any ideas, Sam.
Well, I don't have any kids, so I'm good. I'm good for now.
Dayn, a question that comes up a lot that we get asked, or that I like to think about, is what quality or part of the relationship, when you think about taking on a new person as a client, what is most important to the attorney-client relationship?
It comes down to communication both ways. I always look for a client that's going to listen as much as I'm listening to them. You have to have that communication, and I don't mean just words. I mean body language. I mean, show me you understand. Show me you're listening to me. Because if I'm talking to a client and they start rolling their eyes like a 15-year-old, then it's not a good fit, because I can only be successful to the extent that a client allows me to be successful, and because we have to be successful as a team.
All right, and a lot of listeners always want to know silly things like, what's your favorite color? What
Blue.
is Dayn's favorite color?
Blue.
Yeah, I would have said that. And chocolate chip cookie dough is his favorite ice cream, too.
Favorite ice cream?
But he actually just likes eating the cookie dough out of the ice cream.
No, my favorite ice cream, here's a plug, Cherry Garcia.
The Ben & Jerry's?
Yep.
Yeah, I think we all have a Ben & Jerry's. Mine is the fish food.
What's the fish food?
It has nothing to do with fish. It's got like brownie bites, cookie dough bites. Like, it is my guilty pleasure when I am hiding in a closet by myself. Pretend like I bought the Ben & Jerry's for my kids, having some me time. That's definitely my favorite.
When we were kids, this is gross, but when we were kids, we'd go down to like the CVS, and I don't know if you ever remember buying ice cream in like a box.
Yep.
And we'd get the chocolate malted crunch. And me and my sister would just take a knife and cut it in two, like 2 bowls, and just sit down, watch some TGI Friday.
Oh, all day. Gosh, I love TGIF. All right, well, I can't believe it is almost time to wrap it up again. This 30 minutes goes by so stinking fast. Like, don't you think, Sam?
I can't believe it.
And we love having Dayn on as an expert because his qualifications are truly phenomenal. And Dayn, if any listeners or potential clients or somebody going through a divorce wants to reach you, how do they reach you?
Probably through our website, which is HBP, Holstrom Block Park, hbplaw.com.
And do they fill out a contact form? Is that how it gets to you?
Exactly. There's a contact form on our website, and they're welcome to fill that out. Or they can get our number off the website and call as well.
Okay, and are you doing in-person consults right now in light of everything that's going on?
Well, with COVID, we've got a lot of resources, and probably in-person is not my first choice, nor those of our clients. And so a telephonic intake usually works well to see if it's a good fit off the bat. Then if the client wants to come in, we can set up a meeting in a safe circumstance. Otherwise, we can do a Zoom or equivalent conference as well.
That's great. It's always super important to make sure that both the client and the attorney are a good fit. And I think that you taught me, and it's definitely still true today, is that attorneys are not one size fits all. Would you agree?
100%.
And what style of attorney would you say that you are?
Unfortunately, I am the aggressive kind of go-get-'em kind of guy, but I'm also the one who really wants to talk through all the options with the client. My biggest issue in representing a client is let them know that the choices are theirs, not mine. And I'm going to give them all the information so they can make their choices, and then I'm going to help them execute them.
And Dayn's also very creative. So a lot of times we get clients that come in or people come in and they've had several attorneys before, and it's just not working out. Dayn does such a great job of analyzing the case and looking at it from a new angle. Kristen and I are always running in his office saying, what do you think about this? And I just think that's such a credit to Dayn.
No, he is. He's definitely a belt and suspenders attorney. He's definitely passed it on to both Sam and I. And I think one of Dayn's best attributes as an attorney is that he always thinks behind every door that's coming up. It's
what ifs.
It definitely, the what ifs. How could this go wrong? How does this hurt me? And those are all things that he has taught both of us. But his creative legal strategy it's truly unparalleled.
Well, I will tell you, the coolest part of my being in the show with you is to share with you. I love being able to go down the hall of your office and ask you guys that question.
And that's what makes us all so great working together is, you know, Sam has a lot of the codes and the books, and she can spew anything off the top of her head. And then I'm more of the passion and the facts driven. And then we go to Dayn to get a second opinion on strategies and making sure that everything all comes together so legally sound.
So we're just a big think tank.
We truly are. And then we're kind of like the Shark Tank, like in one.
Ooh, sharks.
Oh, back to Sam and her darn sharks. I think Dayn would actually cage dive with us. I'm pretty sure he would. Wouldn't
Cage
you?
dive?
Yeah.
With sharks?
With sharks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
We got to set this up.
We'll have to set up another episode where we talk about Dayn and I.
Post shark diving.
Yeah, and also spearfishing off the waters in Cabo off of our sailboat. So that's another day, another story. But it was such a great day. Thank you all for joining us here this Saturday and every Saturday at 8:30. We love sharing our lives with you, and we really enjoyed having the expert and the Top Gun of divorce, Dayn Holstrom, here with us today.
You can also catch us online at custodyqueensonair.com. Check out our Instagrams at Samantha McBride and at CustodyQueenKristen. And you can call us at 1-800-419-7772. That's 1-800-419-7772. That's 1-800-419-7772.
And remember, our Custody Queens team is growing, as is our Holstrom Block and Park team. If you think you would be a good fit for either team, please send your resume to Kristen at custodyqueens.com. That's KRISTEN at custodyqueens.com. And if there's anything that you want Sam and I to talk about, nothing is off limits. So feel free to post us and tag us on Instagram and let us know what you want to talk about.
And remember, let love rule.